walk me through that day, if you don't mind, when you heard the news, and what
Mm,
was going through your mind? What was the accident? What
okay.
happened?
So, my husband and I were living in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I had started a job where did in-home care, and it was a Sunday morning, October 17th. Um, and as I was driving to work that day, I heard that song Casting Crowns, Scars in Heaven. It's about losing someone, and had you known that they would be gone, you would have held them a little bit longer. And for some reason, I got like emotional.
Right.
And so the couple that I went to take care of, the man was a paraplegic. He had had a bike accident about a year prior, and and I got there at 7 in the morning, and then not long after that, we started I was there to help the wife with getting her husband out of bed,
Right.
and and then I went to go get her for the next phase, and my phone was on a table by the entry door, and I saw that Adam, my older son, was calling, and but I missed the call, and for some reason I just took my phone with me, and then 15-20 minutes later Rick called me. I had this feeling that I needed to have the phone near me,
Mm,
and he told me that when Adam had called him, that um, Ben had been hit by a car
mm.
and was in the hospital for brain surgery.
Wow.
That's basically all that I knew. That's it.
Right.
And of course, shock went through me. I didn't know what to think. There were so many things going through my mind, and I think one of the things going through my mind is here I am helping this paraplegic man. Is Ben going to be that way? You think brain injury,
Mm,
and I think his wife then later on said too that she, was thinking the same thing as well.
yeah.
And they told me that I could go home at that time. I said, but I couldn't. I had to. I had to finish helping him up
Mm,
to a certain point.
right.
And then I started making some phone calls. In fact, I think your mom may have been one of the ones that I called from there. And then, of course, just asking for prayers. I called some of my moms and prayer friends, and um, of course, called uh, my boss at the time too, saying that I'm going to need some time off, and I had no idea what's going to happen. So, um, yeah, and then we just go home and pack. My husband Rick was already on the phone making phone calls, airline tickets and things of that sort. And um, I had some friends who were part of my Moms in Prayer group, and um, I had messaged all them, and one of them came over, and she said, "I'm going to drive you to the airport in Albuquerque. You can't drive right now." And then the others, they all agreed to take care of our dog Dexter, and just very, very helpful and all that. And still, I didn't all the way on the plane ride. At one point, I got a message from one of the nurses at the hospital, um, and he said that he has a lot of swelling on the brain, and I was just praying to God to let the swelling go down, and just kind of the whole time, just praying and maybe praying for a miracle, but I didn't know exactly the extent of the injuries at that time. And I don't think they told us for a reason,
Right.
um, as well. But anyway, yeah.
So, um, what exactly, what did you find out? When did you find out like the whole story of what happened of um the timing and everything?
Uh, so what we eventually found out is that um, Ben had gone. So let me back up to July. He he had my husband's old car. He had a fender bender with it. So we found a way to get him a new car because we were going to do that anyway when he graduated the following May. Um, so he had that new car, and then just a few days after he had that car, he somehow somebody came in his lane and he hit one of those orange cones on the highway where they were doing constructions.
Mm.
So the airbags went off, and he had a new 2022 car. And so the airbags and the seat belts are all connected. And even though he could get the bumper and all that fixed up, there, because it was still COVID, there were no
Mm.
airbags to be found.
Wow.
So for a while he had a rental car, but then he we had to turn that in. And so he was walking, he was borrowing cars, he was taking buses, just, and he was very athletic. And so I think on this particular day, his girlfriend had maybe her wisdom teeth removed. So he went to see her, borrowed somebody's car. Then he came back and picked him up, and the fraternity met at a bar downtown. And and then when it was time for him to go home, he couldn't find his friend, and then his phone had died.
Mm.
so so he walked home, 3 miles home. It was no big deal for him to walk.
Right.
And then his um it wasn't a it was like a duplex he was living in, and that was just, yeah, the university, and then there were a few other residential streets, and then his little duplex. And he was crossing a road, and there was another young man in a car that was exiting. It wasn't like a hard right turn. It was more like an exit, even though it was a residential area.
Mhm.
And they just, because of lighting, not enough lighting and overgrown bushes, Ben didn't see the car, and the car didn't see Ben. And he hit him. And Ben was, walking, he was crossing the street. And then, but I'm grateful that the young man stopped and called 911.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so within minutes, the EMS was there. And I think they said, even though he wasn't breathing, his heart was still beating. So they put him on life support at that time.
Wow.
Mhm.
So then you saw him in the hospital, I imagine.
Yes, it was probably around midnight then.
Mm.
By the time we got there and we got to the hospital, and I saw him there, and it was yeah, the majority of his injury was actually on the right side of his head. And but it was still hard to see him there,
Right.
um, on life support and stuff.
Right.